Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Pleased to say, joining us, sports writer and broadcaster Henry Winter and the Daily Mail's chief feature writer Riyadh Al Samurai. Welcome to you both. Let's quickly run through the back pages as they reach us after a busy night of football. Sun's headline is a rash decision. Ruben Amorim should have talked to me and not gone public. And of course, they cover Arsenal's win in the Carabao Cup with baby Jesus. Good time of year for a hat-trick hero. Plus, Enzo Jan plan. The Sun report Maresca and Chelsea are set to raid the transfer market if Mudryk is banned for failing a drugs test. Mail gone with the headline, gift of the gab. A stunning Jesus hat-trick is perfect present for Arteta. And Amorim snubs Rashford again for big cup tie. That game against Tottenham coming up Thursday evening. And the Telegraph lead with Rashford's future. They say the Saudi Pro League will target signing him from Manchester United. Plus, the Rugby Football Union admits reputational damage of the pay scandal. Times, Rashford still out in cold. Jesus offers timely reminder. And Martin Ziegler writes, owner warning for Newcastle. And the Eye, the lead with Amorim's quotes on Rashford, have the image from the Emirates. All smiles at Arsenal. Jesus hat-trick puts Gunners into the Carabao Cup semis. They have a story on the left-hand side as well. Stewards' bonuses are scrapped at Old Trafford. Another indication of the era of frugality at Manchester United. May touch on that later, but let's talk about Marcus Rashford first. His future, Henry, after he told you on Tuesday he was ready for a new challenge. Brilliant scoop. But what do you make, Henry, the Sun back page then? A rash decision. Ruben, he should have talked to me and not gone public. I'm interested in this because I thought Ruben Amorim struck quite a conciliatory note, didn't he? But the papers have taken a different angle. What did you make of the Manchester United manager's response to your story?
I thought he was very mature, showing his man management skills, very diplomatic, saying that there is a way ahead. And I thought he was quite clever in the way he used the new challenge phrase that Marcus Rashford had used. And let's be clear, when I asked him about that, I made it very clear that, when he said new challenge, it was away from Old Trafford. There's no ambiguity in that. But I just thought that was good man management from Amorim. But obviously the stories developed during the day, and the fact that of the 21-man squad that Amorim has taken to Spurs for tomorrow night, they met at Stockport Station heading to Euston. Marcus Rashford wasn't amongst them.
And Henry, in the Times as well, that story, Rashford still out in cold. Striker unlikely to be in United's squad for Spurs match, despite Amorim wanting him to stay. What do we decipher from this then, Henry? Amorim saying we need him. I just want to help Marcus. We're better with Rashford, and they're not taking him for the Tottenham game. Is someone else influencing this? What's your read on it?
What else can Ruben Amorim say? He can't say, no, I want him out of here. I think that everyone can see, and Riyadh's paper's been covering it, the Times we see here, the Telegraph, all the papers have been covering that the direction of travel for Marcus Rashford over the last week. And the club, Manchester United, this great English institution, certainly haven't been closing down these stories, the suggestion of Rashford leaving. And he's obviously seen that. And now it's a question of when rather than if. Whether it's a loan in January, it would be a complicated deal to do for many reasons, mainly financial. But yeah, it looks like he's out the door.
I'll bring Riyadh in very quickly, Henry, but just want to get your sense. Obviously, I know you've been on Sky Sports News since the story broke, but what would appeal to Marcus Rashford? Did you get any indication that this would be something he'd consider a pay cut? Would a loan option appeal? Was it just any new territory?
Well, new territory in terms of Saudis, as the Times are suggesting. The only issue there is, he's very keen to get back in the England squad. Was it 17 goals in 60 appearances, played in 2 World Cups? He's obviously very keen, as all the young England players, are, to play in the World Cup in America to try and impress Thomas Tuchel. So Saudi, I don't think that would be right for him. Real Madrid obviously got Mbappe in, and Rashford's not at Mbappe's level. Barcelona probably don't have the money. Juventus possibly in Italy. But it's a complicated deal to do.
Very complicated. Riyadh, let's go to your paper. Henry did mention you having the story on the back page. Chris Wheeler with it. Amorim snubs Rashford again for big cup tie, giving presumably the significance of this quarter-final in the League Cup for Amorim and trying to get a trophy. What does that really say about his opinion of where Marcus Rashford stands?
It's fascinating, obviously, since Henry's Marcus Rashford, but via Henry is thrown the cat among the pigeons here. Look, clearly he's out of favour. We saw it him being left out of the Manchester derby. I don't think anyone could take it as a positive that he's been left out of the Spurs game. Now there was a suggestion that he was perhaps a little unwell earlier in the week. He's clearly since gone on to attend this function at his former school where he's spoken to Henry. So we're gonna have to find out a little bit more on the reasons behind this. But I think when we're looking at Rashford at the moment, one of the kind of questions that comes for me now is where can he actually go to? Where's he going to fit in and move in? I can't see for the life of me. I can't see him at the age of 27 going to Saudi Arabia. For everything that's been said about him, about his commitment and everything else, I cannot see him throwing in the towel on his career, particularly with England, by going and playing in the Saudi Pro League. Then you've got to ask the question of who else is available. We've heard suggestions about his preference might be La Liga. Well, Barcelona haven't got any money, and his salary is upwards of 325 grand a week. That contract runs until 2028. It would have to be a mega pay cut. Real Madrid don't need him. I also don't believe that on the basis of the past 18 months, he's anywhere near good enough to go and play in that front line with Bellingham, Vinicius Junior, and the rest of them. So I can't see that working out. Atletico, is there an option there? I don't believe so. PSG have got Barcola. They've been interested in previously, but why would they upset the apple cart? Bayer Leverkusen have got a brilliant young English winger that Bayern Munich don't need a left winger. Then we look domestically. The only club I could see being potentially a fit for him would possibly be Arsenal. We've looked at Trossard this season. We've looked at Martinelli. Neither of them, I would say, are hitting their best form. Would there be an opening there? Potentially. It's not going to be Chelsea. They've got all the wingers in the world. Man City, I don't believe, even in current form, I don't believe Rashford's good enough to go there, and it's a fairly feisty move to go there. Liverpool, I don't believe so either.
Well, he'd still be able to visit his old primary school, but I think it'd be very controversial if he went to Manchester City, Henry. Let's have a quick take of the Daily Telegraph Sports Supplement. Saudis target Rashford, Jason Burt and James Ducker with a story. United striker on SPL elite list with Salah and De Bruyne. Loan with obligation to buy, best option for Europe move. Where do you think's most likely destination, Henry? Raheem Sterling's an understudy. Chelsea loaned him to Arsenal, didn't they? Could Arsenal go into loan market for Rashford?
Personally, I would love it if he stayed and fought for his place at Manchester United. They've got a fantastic manager or head coach, Ruben Amorim, taking them in an exciting direction. But tactically, he doesn't really necessarily fit into that. He's best in a 4-3-3. We saw that famously in Seville with England. I mean, I think sort of echoing what Riyad says. I mean, Arsenal, although Gabriel Jesus got a hat-trick tonight, Martinelli's not necessarily had the best of the seasons on the left. Rashford could play there. Again, finance is an issue. Tottenham tomorrow night would have been interesting if he'd been in the party, because Heung-min Son's been a fantastic servant for Tottenham Hotspur on the left flank, but his powers are waning. He had a good game at the weekend, but he's fading a little bit. Does he want to stay in England? I don't know. I mean, he's still, I said to him just as he sort of went off to his car, I said, Manchester United will always be in your blood. And he said, yeah, 100%, absolutely. I do hope one thing in all this sort of slightly confusing air at the moment is that when he does leave Manchester United, and it looks pretty certain that he is, that he goes out and he wants to, respecting the club respecting him. What we don't want is, and we've seen it before in the past with Manchester United, players leaving angrily, going through the exit door and leaving the door hanging off its hinges. We don't want that. He has too much respect for him. And I think Manchester United fans, certainly those in the ground, will have too much respect for Marcus Rashford.
Indeed, he's a Manchester United fan, isn't he? Born and bred, and has some magical moments at the club. More trophies, perhaps, than other people realise. In terms of wingers who've yet to realise their talent, perhaps let's talk Mykhailo Mudryk and his support from the Chelsea head coach, Enzo Maresca. Riyadh, we can go to the back page of the Mirror here. Enzo, we have trust in Mudryk. Paul Brown reporting. Enzo Maresca insists Mykhailo Mudryk is innocent and will not see his career ended by a failed drugs test. How powerful and unequivocal were these statements from Maresca today, Riyadh?
They were unequivocal, but I think they were also forced, because you sometimes have to ask yourself, what could he say that would be different to that? I think, Maresca will surely have more information on this case than the rest of us. I'm sure he'll also have more information than he's let on today. He said that he's fairly hazy on the details. I'm not sure I would believe that personally. I think if you're the manager of an asset that costs the better part of £90 million, you want to know every single cough and splutter of what has gone on, what the substance is, how the contamination may have occurred, what date it took place on, and I would be astonished if they weren't in possession of those details. Now, obviously, this is a very serious situation. At this point, we are very early in the process. Justice has to run its course. He has to put forward his explanations through the legal channels. He's enlisted a lawyer who is very famous in anti-doping circles for these cases. He's had a tremendous amount of success, that being Morgan Sports Law. He was the lawyer who looked after Paul Pogba's case as well, took his proposed ban down from 4 years to 18 months. These are incredibly complicated cases. They are also really alarmingly common. Contamination is almost always the first line of defence when these cases come up. So we're all going to have to wait and see and reserve judgment until this process is seen through. But for Chelsea, on the back of what has been a superb start to the season, this is going to be absolutely the last thing they wanted.
Absolutely not. Mykhailo Mudryk then, for the foreseeable future, till the B sample's back at least, will be training on his own at home, Henry. What about the implications for Chelsea? Back page of The Sun, Enzo Jan plan. This by Andrew Dillon. Enzo Maresca set to raid the January transfer market if Mykhailo Mudryk cops a lengthy ban. Given his sort of bit-part role, Henry, does that surprise you? Would you think Chelsea do need to replace Mudryk if he's not available, given what he's done so far this season?
And what he's done before that, which is very little. He's a slightly complex character. I've interviewed him when he was over in Ukraine. But actually, you look at him tactically. He thought, I think he hoped he was going to Arsenal to fill in their left-sided problem. He ended up at Chelsea because they obviously offered Shakhtar more money. And it's simply not worked out. If you actually look at, Riyadh was alluding to this earlier, Chelsea are not short of options out wide. Pedro Neto was banned at the weekend, so Madueke comes in. Got Jadon Sancho on the left as well. They're not actually short. Nkunku can play on the left as well. So I think Mudryk probably would get in a match day 18, but he's certainly not troubling the starters.
No, OK, we'll see that. So keep a watching brief on Chelsea, both the Mudryk situation and the January transfer window to come. We're going to take a quick break. Henry and Riyadh, we come back. We'll look back at more of the back pages after a brilliant night of football, including this in the Mail. Gift to the Gab. Stunning Jesus hat-trick, his perfect present for Arteta. Arsenal through, as are Liverpool and Newcastle. You are watching Back Pages tonight. Welcome back to you and welcome back to sports writer and broadcaster Henry Winter and the Daily Mail's chief feature writer Riyadh Al Samurai. Let's talk about Arsenal. Go to the back page of The Sun. Riyadh, I'll come to you for Jordan Davis's piece here. Baby Jesus, or Jesus, a good time of year for hat-trick hero. He scored again. Jesus, who revealed this week his partner is expecting, celebrates his opening goal. Scored a hat-trick, Riyadh, but am I wrong in thinking the story isn't the fact that Jesus scored a hat-trick, it's the fact that it took Odegaard and Saka coming off the bench to set him up, that again Arsenal's backup team didn't look that great?
Yeah, Arteta sent for the cavalry. He made changes for the team. I was a little surprised by that. I think, I wouldn't dream of saying Arteta's under any kind of pressure. He's having a very strong season, had a very strong season last year, but they do have that imperative of winning a trophy. And this is a quarter-final. Did they take Palace lightly? Maybe. But that first half was very poor. They've gone behind to an early goal. But again, I think things change when Odegaard comes off the pitch. He is a magnificent player, I would say, outside of Rodri. I think he's the best player in the Premier League. Maybe Salah. He's decent too. But look, we're talking about a transformation. Jesus, look, it's not before time, is it? The guy's not scored in the Premier League this season. I think, it flashed up when he scored his first. It was actually his first at the Emirates of the year as well. So, look, it's been a good night for him. But I think if you're Arteta looking at perhaps the underbelly of that squad, there's still going to be a little bit of concern. Of course, they did let Palace back in towards the end there as well. But ultimately, it's a cup game, and a cup game is just about getting through, and they've won.
And it is Gabriel Jesus, Henry, dominating the back pages. Gift of the Gab, back page of the Mail. Stunning Jesus hat-trick. His perfect present for Arteta. Ihsan Khan at the Emirates Stadium for the Mail. Henry, could he be a significant player this season, Gabriel Jesus, if he finds that confidence? Arteta was talking about that post-match.
Well, you could see the confidence just coursing through him after he scored a very good first goal, and then the second two were terrific instinctive finishes. I mean, it was interesting. All these ties were played without VAR, and certainly one of his goals might have been chalked off. But yeah, I mean, as Riyadh was saying, Odegaard's delivery, Saliba coming in to sort of bolster the defence as well at half-time. But yeah, absolutely, because, everyone's been saying this for a long time about Arsenal. They need a finisher. They need a centre-forward. Kai Havertz can do it. Does he always do it against the biggest teams? I know the Champions League final with Chelsea, but with Arsenal, they haven't got a serial finisher, an Ian Wright type character. Gabriel Jesus, does a lot of his work coming in off the left. But if he is going to go on a run now and get 20 goals for the rest of the season, that is just going to be so important, not simply for the League Cup where he's been getting his goals, but also in the Premier League.
It feels like Arteta could do, perhaps, with a trophy to kick-start the season, Riyadh, but other teams as well. It's looking like a cracking semi-final lineup. Newcastle and Liverpool through as well. Back page of the Mirror, Harvey makes it L for Saints, as in Elliott there. Harvey Elliott, player of the match, scored a goal as Liverpool won at Southampton, and Newcastle 3, Brentford 1. How excited are you about the Carabao Cup, Riyadh, this season, with Manchester United against Tottenham to come?
I always enjoy the Carabao Cup. I don't fully understand why it gets why it gets so maligned. But look, I think Newcastle are probably the interesting package in all of this. It's not been a good season for Newcastle. You can just start to feel a little bit of the pressure creeping up on Eddie Howe, and of course you've got this ongoing clock that has been ticking since 1955 for them with a trophy. So, they've gone through, they've looked very comfortable. I was a little surprised by that, given the difficulties against Brentford a couple of weeks ago. But, you can see what Eddie Howe's putting into this competition. He's gone with an unchanged team. He's not done what Arteta's done. He's not done what Arne Slot's done. He's gone with his absolute strongest hand. I think everything is staked on a cup. And I think, I'd be amazed if Postecoglou, injuries permitting, doesn't give it the same seriousness. We've heard him talking plenty about, he always delivers in his second season. There is an absolute imperative on him for him to do that, and he's got to do that against United, who are going very well under Amorim. So that's a hard game. Spurs really have got a huge amount to lose going into it.
Well, it feels like all the teams left in it, apart from Liverpool, probably need a confidence booster in a sense, Henry. But I suppose Harvey makes it L for Saints, that headline in the Mirror again. They look pretty formidable, don't they? Again, Arne Slot able to really change things tonight and still win.
Yes, they did. But actually, in fairness to Southampton, they were terrific in the second half in particular. They were really spirited. They were, the Russell Martin experiment of playing out the back persistently clearly hadn't worked. They were a lot more direct at times. They could very easily, with a sort of slightly more eagle-eyed referee and assistant, have had a free kick on the edge of the area and maybe conjured up another goal in the last minute. So I think Saints fans going away from that, they applauded their team because they showed real spirit. But absolutely, Liverpool have got this fantastic strength in depth. Jurgen Klopp's inheritance that he's passed on to Arne Slot has been fantastic. Some of the kids on show were again good.
Yeah, we were impressive, weren't they? Tyler Morton as well. Strong statement from Liverpool. But what about Southampton? Henry makes a cogent point there, doesn't he, Riyadh? That they changed the style under Simon Ruskin and looked pretty good doing it. Will that maybe spread the managerial net further now? They can look at different options of styles of manager with the team playing like that tonight?
I think so, but again, kind of going to what Henry was saying there, what surprised me about Southampton, particularly the second half, is, they've got good players. They know they do. They've got good technical players there. But I thought their confidence was going to be absolutely shredded. Tottenham marmalised them at the weekend, and after going a couple of goals down behind again against Liverpool, you can see them rolling over. But sort of fair play to Rust. He's been able to do something in a couple of days there. Quite where Southampton go from here, it's, do you start looking even at survival, or do you immediately start looking to a championship manager? This team is tracking to have a worse season points-wise than Derby way back when. I don't think, you'd have to be an incurable optimist to think that they've got any chance of survival. So really, you're starting to look ahead then to, who's out there with championship pedigree, who knows the division, who can bring them back up, and that's suddenly a very different conversation, quite a difficult one to have, I think, when you're actually currently in the Premier League.
It's a difficult picture for Southampton. We'll see how they get on. They've got Fulham and West Ham in the next week in the Premier League. Let's talk rugby. Latest Rugby Football Union accounts, of course, some controversy met by uproar in and outside of Twickenham. Reports showing an operating loss of nearly £40 million. This set against the fact that Chief Executive Bill Sweeney pocketed £1.1 million after scooping a bonus of £358,000. The club's vote could oust RFU duo Tommy Lube and Bill Sweeney. Riyadh, I've only got about 30, 40 seconds. How ugly and complicated is this picture now?
I think it's extraordinary. I think they're saying this kind of vote of no confidence. It's the first time something like this has been triggered in living memory. And as you say there, we're talking about a time when they've posted record losses, they've made redundancies, but Bill Sweeney's sort of contrived to effectively pay himself a bonus of more than £350,000. It's absolutely remarkable. This is being driven by the referees. I think one of the sources in Will Kelleher's piece is also pointing out, these are the most balanced people in the game, and it's driven by the clubs and the grassroots. It's remarkable.
We'll keep our eye across it. Riyadh and Henry, thank you very much for your company tonight on Back Pages tonight. Hope to see you again very soon. Thank you for watching. Remember, the show's also available as a podcast. Back Pages on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Back on Thursday night as well. Our guest, Martin Ziegler from The Times, and sports journalist and broadcaster Tustik Din.